The film begins far from the city, high in the mountains, on a highway. Melly and some of her friends are returning home after completing a 2-week road trip. But before that, they need to go to a specific place. A year ago, Melly's sister posted a video and then vanished without a trace. That video was shot in this very convenience store in front of them. Hope was slim, but Melly didn't want to miss any chance. Shia, an Asian girl, was very fond of spirit games. She had arranged a seance right here to talk to a spirit. Everyone found it a bit strange, but they all decided to support her. They all held hands and formed a circle. With Shia's guidance, everyone felt something slowly approaching. Just then, a minibus broke this strange atmosphere. Melly quietly went inside the store and went straight to the counter, showing a photo and asking if they had seen this girl. The shopkeeper shook his head, saying no, but immediately added that the girl had disappeared. Melly was stunned. Then the shopkeeper explained that recently, many people had come looking for their missing relatives, and all the cases were linked to Glore Valley up ahead. Melly excitedly ran outside. She had finally found a clue about her sister. Everyone gets on the bus, and they head towards Glore Valley, but soon a heavy rain starts. The driver keeps changing the route, but still can't get through the mountainous path. Everyone gets worried and starts arguing. Just then, the road ahead of the bus suddenly clears. It's still raining behind them, but the sky in front is completely clear, as if some invisible force has divided this place into 2 parts. Shia saw graves on the lawn, and a strange fear arose in her mind. But the other companions didn't want to walk in the rain and, without saying anything, headed straight towards the magnificent wooden bungalow. Only Melly stood there. This rain felt strange to her. She reached out to feel it. The water seemed normal, but doubt remained in her mind. Just then, the shadow of a person appeared in the mist. Melly was startled, but, without thinking, ran into the rain. Her boyfriend Jack, seeing this, shouted loudly and ran after her. Meanwhile, the 3 friends who had entered the bungalow also felt that something was wrong. A large hourglass was placed in the middle of the hall. The girl with curly hair saw a visitor's registration book on a desk. As she turned the pages, she saw Melly's sister's name one after another. Shia quietly went near the bathroom. Thick dust had settled on the mirror. There wasn't a single drop of water in the tap, as if no one had lived here for many years. The cameraman had always been passionate about shooting. He wanted to record every moment. But as soon as he went into a bedroom, he saw that the pictures hanging on the wall were all of missing people, and among them was Melly's sister's picture. Meanwhile, Melly, drenched in the rain, continued searching for her sister. Suddenly, a large hand appeared in front of her. It was Jack, who pulled her back. Returning home, everyone talked about their strange experiences. Melly clearly said that she had heard her sisters murmuring in the rain. Meanwhile, the girl with curly hair saw that the hourglass had started running again on its own, even though no one had touched it. Just then, the loud sound of an engine came from outside. Everyone ran out and saw that their minibus had somehow gone into the rainy zone. But the person sitting inside the vehicle was completely silent, as if frozen. Scared, everyone went back inside the bungalow. In this desolate place, who knows what crazy person they might encounter? There was no signal on their phones. Then, Melly and some friends decided to look for a landline phone. Turning on the mobile phone's flashlight, they went down to the basement, where Jack saw that there were windows all around the walls. While everyone was trying to understand what was happening, Melly screamed. She had finally found a landline phone, but despite several attempts, the phone wasn't working. Meanwhile, Shia found a walkie-talkie radio. At the same time, upstairs, the cameraman and the girl with curly hair suddenly heard a loud noise of a door closing. The cameraman went to investigate curiously, but didn't return for a long time. The girl with curly hair sensed something was wrong. She slowly started walking across the corridor. Just then, she saw a shadow in front of her. As soon as she turned on the light, the cameraman was lying there, cut into 2 pieces. The 3 people downstairs also heard some noises. By the time they reached upstairs, the girl with curly hair was also lying there, covered in blood. Jack warned everyone that a masked killer had entered the house. The 3 people immediately hid. As the sound of footsteps got closer, Jack picked up a stool and threw it with all his might, but the masked figure didn't seem to feel anything. He turned around and stabbed Jack with a knife. Jack fell to the ground. Shia was hiding in the closet, trembling. Right before her eyes, the masked figure slowly approached the door. Meanwhile, Melly, who was hidden behind the door, gathered her courage, picked up a knife lying on the table, and ran. But the masked figure didn't seem to feel any pain. Melly realized she couldn't fight him. She quickly ran out of the room and unknowingly ran towards the forest. In the mist, she saw a familiar shadow, but before she could understand anything, the person was stabbed in the stomach. And with Melly's death, the remaining 5 people also met their end. Then suddenly, the hourglass started turning on its own, and everyone was transported back to the moment they first stepped into the house. But this time, they remembered everything. Their deaths. Every single moment. And the scariest thing was that their pictures were now also stuck on the wall. Now, everyone was completely terrified. Was some unknown force trapping them here? The cameraman said that he just needed to take the car and get out of here. But the girl with curly hair said that it wasn't that simple. She remembered the register in which there were many lines with the same name, meaning all those people had gone through this loop many times. At this moment, there was once again a loud banging on the door from outside. Everyone slowly moved forward and saw the main door opening and closing repeatedly on its own. The cameraman and Jack together forced the door shut. Meanwhile, the girl with curly hair saw the hourglass starting to run again. Shia's face turned white with fear. She had a spiritual sense and could feel things more than others. She felt that something very bad was going to happen tonight. No sooner had these words left her mouth than her body started twisting on its own. The bulb hanging above burst with a scream, and Shia disappeared completely. When everyone searched for her together, they saw her hanging in the air. Her face was strangely dry and flat, like an old photograph, and strange noises were coming from her mouth, as if many souls had entered her. Then another terrifying scream echoed. Shia's neck twisted to one side, and she fell to the ground, dying instantly. Everyone's hearts trembled with fear. Would they have to die again? Suddenly, there was a very loud knock on the door. Millie's face became stern. She recognized that it was her sister's voice, a cry for help. Everyone was suspicious, but her lover Jack's affection prevailed. Without thinking, Melly opened the door, but there was no one outside. Jack looked ahead in shock. Out of nowhere, a new wooden hut had appeared. Melly's brow furrowed, and the next moment she was lifted into the air. All the others were pushed back into the room by some invisible force. Melly tried to climb back up, but her body slid backwards on its own. Jack was about to run out to save her, but the cameraman blocked his way, trying his best to stop him. "Melly can't be saved," he said. "This is the only chance to escape." But Jack wasn't listening. He just opened the door and ran out. Meanwhile, Melly had regained consciousness inside the wooden shack. Strange masks hung all around. A news report about a mine collapse was playing on the TV, and an old man was sitting on the sofa. Melly saw that the old man had probably fallen asleep. She thought she should leave now, but as soon as she opened the wooden door, it slammed shut with full force. After several attempts, when she turned back, she saw the old man was now standing. The man said in a low voice, "Either endure this night or become a part of it." Saying this, he forcefully pushed Melly with both hands. Something like an oxygen mask was put over her face, and her eyes slowly started turning black. Meanwhile, the old man rapidly aged before her eyes and finally turned into a muddy corpse. Now a strange, terrifying smile appeared on Melly's face. Outside, the cameraman and the curly-haired girl ran and got into the car. The cameraman didn't care about anyone anymore. He directly pressed the accelerator and sped off through the rain. But they hadn't gone too far when a tall, frightening shadow stood in front of them. The cameraman trembled with fear, immediately turned the car back, and returned to the safe zone. The curly-haired girl wanted to get out of the car, but the doors were locked. The next moment, blood splattered on the window. Someone had killed the cameraman in a single blow. It was the masked killer. He had returned again. Inside the shack, Jack had arrived, but there was only ash left. No trace of Melly. Jack carefully looked around the room. In one corner, a clown was sitting on a rocking chair. When he went closer, he saw it was just a doll. Angrily, he kicked it, but as soon as he turned around, Melly was standing there, but now she had a mask on her face. And the next moment, Jack fell to the ground because Melly had brutally killed him. As Melly came out of the shack, the masked killer quickly drove up in a car and ran over Melly. The hero group was completely wiped out once again. This time, when they came back to life, they acted wisely. They completely locked the main door, and all of them hid in the bathroom. They just needed to get through the night, as the old woman had said, and maybe they could survive. Just then, the cameraman felt thirsty. Shia stopped him, saying there was no water here. But when he turned on the tap, clean water started flowing. They hadn't had food or water all day, so as soon as they felt a little relief, everyone drank some tap water. After this, a long wait began. Suddenly, the cameraman started coughing violently, and the next moment, blood spurted from his mouth. The cough got worse and worse, and then he exploded completely. Screams and cries echoed everywhere. The curly-haired girl tried to wipe the blood off her body, but then she also exploded. Now everyone understood. It was the water that was contaminated. Shia's face turned pale. She was the third one who had drunk the water, and as soon as everyone looked at her, she also exploded. Melly understood everything. Once again, they had failed, but maybe they had another chance. Jack gave up and in an instant turned into a pool of blood. Now only Melly was left. She lay down on the ground herself, waiting for death. Just then, a man came out of the room. It was the same shopkeeper, the salesman. Melly's eyes filled with disbelief, and the next moment, she too died. The hourglass started turning again, and everyone returned to the beginning of the new cycle once more. This time, everyone was terrified and started looking for clues. Melly found the salesman's real identity among a pile of documents. He was a psychologist. The others found an even more dangerous truth. This place was once a happy town, but due to years of excavation, the entire town had sunk underground. More than 1,000 people had died. The rescue team that came included the same psychologist. Jack's eyes widened. Now he understood why he had seen a window in the basement that day. The curly-haired girl opened a door and went outside, and there was a tunnel in front of her. A gust of cold wind came, and she immediately closed the door, scared. Meanwhile, the cameraman found an old videotape box. As soon as he opened it, he was shocked. It was the psychologist's experiment record. He had locked a living survivor in a secret room and repeatedly played a game of fear and despair with him. The prisoner gradually changed mentally and physically. Exactly 13 days later, that person had become a monster. Everyone watched this video and understood the truth. This was exactly what was happening to them. At that moment, Melly found the key to breaking the cycle. We don't have to escape. We have to kill that psychologist. Just then, a faint voice echoed from inside the convenience store. Someone was praising Melly, saying, "If you want to meet that doctor, come alone to the forest." Without wasting a moment, Melly ran outside. Everyone else also wanted to run after her, but the cameraman blocked their way. "Didn't you hear? Only Melly was called." But Jack didn't listen to him. "If we die, we'll live again," he said, and ran outside with Shia. The cameraman was about to say something more when the curly-haired boy picked up an iron rod and thrust it into his chest. "That's enough of his blabbering," Jack nodded, and both of them went outside. Meanwhile, Melly had reached a dark black forest. Suddenly, she got caught in a deadly trap. A sharp snare had deeply pierced her leg. An iron chain was attached to the snare, and the next second, some unknown force dragged her into the darkness. Inside the house, the cameraman and the curly-haired boy once again faced each other. There's no need to tell what happened to them at the hands of the masked killer. Over in the forest, Jack and Shia finally reached a building half submerged in mud. Just then, a faint rustling sound came from behind. Both of them hid behind a tree, and then some sticky liquid dripped from above. A terrifying monster was now in front of them. Both of them were petrified and ran for their lives. While running, Shia slipped and fell to the ground, but she fell on a glass roof. The slightest movement, and the glass would break. Jack reached out to save her, but by then, the monster had arrived. Jack saw with his own eyes as Shia was dragged into the darkness, something no one could have imagined. What happened was that Melly, who had been dragged into the forest, was still alive. Jack, passing through there, finds her. Just as Melly starts to free herself from the snare, a terrifying monster emerges from the darkness. Jack swiftly traps the monster's head in a hunting snare, but then Melly's eyes turn red. From her clothes, she recognizes this monster as none other than her own younger sister. They run and hide in an old barricade. Melly's heart was still pounding. There was no doubt they had failed this time as well because they hadn't even seen the face of that mental doctor yet. Now the other three friends were dead. Melly decided she would have to start over again. She finds a broken piece of glass and tells Jack, "Finish me." With a heavy heart, Jack agrees, but just then he sees the monster approaching. He quickly runs outside. On the way, some raindrops fall into his mouth. The next second, he explodes like a balloon of blood. Now, even drinking rainwater has become deadly. Having returned from death once again, this time there was not just fear on everyone's faces, but also understanding. There was still some life left, but then a bulge appeared on the cameraman's back. Everyone's faces hardened. Melly runs towards the register. It says they have survived 13 nights, and according to the videotape, they now have only one last chance. If they fail now, they will become monsters forever, part of the darkness. But there's a problem. Everyone remembers dying only 4 times, meaning some memories are missing. The cameraman gets an idea. He takes out his phone. Their other deaths are recorded on the phone. Somewhere a parasite attack, somewhere a terrifying death god appears. Every death is different, painful, horrific. In the last footage, the mental doctor is seen. He looks around and enters a tunnel behind a door. Then Shia's face appears on the screen. The cameraman now decides he will go behind that tunnel. Maybe there's a final answer hidden there. Just then, everyone suddenly realizes Shia has disappeared. Now they only had this last chance. There was no point in running. Everyone decided together, we have to find Shia and kill that mental doctor. They pass through pitch-dark, narrow tunnels and reach a dilapidated settlement ahead. Melly looks around. A monster is visible in the distance. She immediately signals to be quiet, but then another monster suddenly pounces. Suddenly, chaos erupts everywhere. Hearing the noise, more monsters start arriving. Everyone runs and enters another tunnel, barely managing to close a heavy door and escape the pursuit. But then, the masked killer breaks in through a broken window. Jack and the other 2 companions shout, "Melly, run! We'll stop him!" Melly stumbles and runs into the settlement. Falling at one place, her head narrowly misses hitting a sharp rock. She gets up, but then the monster made of her sister appears in front of her. Melly recognizes her. She tries to remind her sister, but when nothing works, she pushes her hard. The monster falls right on that sharp rock. On the other side, Jack and his companions also confront the masked killer. This time, they have found a broken axe and an old shield. Working as a team, they kill the beast. Meanwhile, Melly, avoiding many monsters, finally reaches the place where Shia was imprisoned. She was locked in an experiment room, and another monster was standing in front of her. It was clear. The mad doctor wanted to intensify Shia's fear. Melly, looking for a way, enters a room, the CCTV room. Her own files were lying on the table, and just then, the mental doctor comes inside. The doctor said with a smile, "Every fear here, every monster, the people who died in the disaster here, they are the real power of this nightmare world. I have turned this real world into a terrifying nightmare." He calmly places his coffee mug on the table, completely unaware that water was dripping from a pipe above. Melly's eyes remained fixed on the ceiling. She silently slides the mug right under the water droplet. After a while, the doctor picks up the mug and drinks again, but then he starts feeling something strange. This was the moment Melly was waiting for. With both hands, she forcefully pushes him. The doctor's body explodes in an instant, turning into a stream of blood. She bends down and takes the lab key from his blood. Melly runs and opens the lab door, rescuing Shia just in time as a monster was about to pounce on her. Meanwhile, Jack and the others were still running around, avoiding the monsters. The good thing was that the paths in this place were quite complex. Everyone ran for their lives and finally managed to get out. At this moment, the killing time ended on the clock, and then the first ray of sunlight fell on their faces. The rain that had fallen on the mountain paths had started to dry up. This meant their nightmare was finally over. Everyone sat down together, exhausted, and got into the car and left. But no one knew that as soon as they left that place, their shadows appeared once again on a monitor screen. So friends, this was the concept of unlimited respawn. Although it's new, the story feels haphazard and rushed in many places. There was a lot of build-up, but the climax felt weak. Anyway, that's it for today. If you have a different opinion on this story, do write in the comment section. We'll meet again in the next video. Until then, goodbye.